I think we should set a good example and start promptly. So I mean, it's the welcome, so people aren't going to miss too much other than me talking if they join a little bit late. But thank you everybody for making time. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Jock Brown. I founded a company called Broadreach. We do funding for renewable energy and infrastructure. I have been for the last couple of years the chairman of AREP, and I therefore have the privilege of welcoming you all to the meeting and getting you all pumped up for another great year in our industry. I was just reading a report by the International Energy Agency that basically electrification, or the growth of electricity consumption and generation around the world, is growing at twice the rate of general energy consumption. So meaning that, you know, things that used to be run on fuels or by burning hydrocarbons are now being electrified, which I think is fantastic for our industry. I think we've seen further price increases from Eskom and municipalities on electricity coming this year and next. And on our side, we're seeing solar panel and battery prices fall further. I think last year batteries, you know, had quite a dramatic fall in price, and I hope we see more of that this year. I think all of the indicators assume that there are. So I think the good news for all of us is there is a lot of opportunities out there, and I think the work that AREP is doing, trying to keep the standards in our industry high, is great. And I think, you know, to have such a great turnout in this meeting, you know, I see we've got 100, more than 100 for a little bit, participants in the AGM. It's really fantastic that we've got so many competent people willing to get involved. So I'm really excited about the year ahead. So I think the main focus of this meeting is to review a lot of things that happened last year, but there is a bit of planning towards the second part of this, and formalities we have to get out of the way. But I think we all should be super excited about 2025, in my opinion. So that's my thoughts. We're over to the agenda now. I think the first course of business we have today is we need to approve the agenda. I know it's been circulated. Maretia, thank you for putting it up on the screen. I think we need to have someone, maybe just in the chat, can approve, and someone second the agenda, please. Okay, thank you. Perfect. Thank you for those. With that,
seconded.
Thank you very much. With that out of the way, we move over to the annual report, and Maretia is going to take us through that, give us an update of what happened in the last 12 months. Thanks, Maretia.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that introduction, Jock. All right, so 12 months is a long time. I'm just going to highlight some of the things that we've been busy with that stood out for us. So this is a list of the 7 things that we thought we wanted to communicate to you as an overview of what AREP has been keeping itself busy with. We have been providing quality services to our members. If you do not agree with that, I expect you to let me know. If we haven't been getting back to you, please contact me and tell me how we can help you. Secondly, we've been reporting on industry data and trends. I'll show some of the reports that we have done in a minute. We've been sharing insightful information. Yes.
Sorry for interrupting there. I noticed that we're at 100 participants. Is it possible for us to try and up it? I know we had 500 last year. But I think for November and December, because we weren't planning any meetings, we didn't subscribe to the increased capacity.
All right, we can do that. If you give me 2 minutes, then just pause the meeting for 2 or 3 minutes, then I can try and do that quickly. Shall we do that?
I think I don't know how many guys we have trying to log in. I've had a number of messages from guys saying that they can't get in. So I think if we can give you a minute or two to just try and sort that out, that'll be great.
Okay, perfect.
Guys, what we've got coming up in the meeting, seeing that we're waiting for Maretia, towards the end of the meeting, we are going to be discussing the big Eskom registration matter. We have to get the AGM sorted, and once we've had the AGM discussion, we can move over to the Eskom discussion. I've had so many inquiries on what Eskom is doing, what they're busy with, whether it's I don't know, legal or illegal to be registered or not to be registered. So we will cover that as soon as the AGM is done. So if we can just give Maretia a minute to sort that out. I don't know exactly how many guys we've got trying to get in, but it would be, I think, in the interest of the AGM to have more guys in the meeting.
Can I ask those speaking to put their cameras on at the time, please? Thank you. Sorry, and I should have put my camera on. Yeah, can I ask those who speaking, put the cameras on? Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I get that. You are saying the guys who are speaking should be putting their cameras on. Okay. Morning, guys.
The guys who are speaking
My name
must
is
have the camera.
Carel.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine, William. Consider that sorted. Although I can see a few more participants entering, so I'm assuming that that side is sorted and we can continue. Maretia, are you back?
I don't think it's sorted yet. I've upgraded now, but I have a sneaky suspicion I'm going to have to restart the meeting in
Man,
order
we're at
for it to take
110
place.
already. That's fine. You can just, William has requested that you just turn your camera on, so that'll be good. I see we're at 111, so it's worked.
I'm still only seeing 99.
Same on my side. I only see the 99, Carl.
On to 100.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm at 117 already, guys. It's good. I think we can assume that it's worked. So,
Okay. Carl, I
Maybe.
did make you host, so you're just going to have to admit those guys. Otherwise, you must make me host again.
oh,
Did
that's
you
why
admit or
you see them.
participate?
There's the problem. Okay. Carl's the problem.
Perfect. All right, so we're going to continue. Let me just get back to the presentation. If you've just joined us, apologies for them not being able to enter the room. We have now sorted it out. Welcome to the official AGM of AREP. My name is Maretia Wiggett. I'm part of the AREP team. Jock just gave us a little bit of a introduction. That's basically the only thing that you missed, the welcoming introduction. And now we are doing the annual report, which was the very first thing on the agenda anyway. Just want to make it a slideshow. Share that.
Nee, come on.
Carl, your mic was on, but I see it's off now. There we go.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Okay, great. Thank you everyone for your patience. Here we go. So let's start again. These are the 7 things that we wanted to highlight to you as our member group, just to give you an idea of what we've been busy with over the past 12 months. We've been focusing on providing excellent service to our members. As I mentioned, if that is not the case, please reach out to me so we can correct that. We've been reporting on industry data and trends. We've done a lot of surveys. We've drawn up some data and reports. I'll show you some of that a bit later. Then we've been focusing on sharing information and writing articles, publishing information. Fourthly, we've been engaging with distributors of solar PV products to identify key issues in their sector and possible solutions. That's been going really well. There's been lots of participation in our distributor Steercom, which has been able to address some of the issues. It's been giving the big distributors a place where they can discuss and just keep in touch with each other, which has been really great. And then fifthly, we have been facilitating meaningful conversations on establishing fire prevention and suppression guidelines, specifically for the solar PV sector. So that's also been I think that's been very fruitful, and we're getting close to a place where we can actually put down some things on paper and get a guideline proposal ready, specifically for the solar PV industry, as there are no fire prevention and suppression guidelines available in South Africa at the moment. So that's been, I think that's been a very fruitful conversation, one of the things that we've been addressing over the past 12 months. And then we have also continuously been engaging with the Department of Employment and Labour. So we've had different conversations with them. Carel has been engaging with them specifically about the clarity of the wording of the regulations, specifically pertaining to who is allowed to sign off on COCs, things like that. So we're still waiting for a very important letter from their side. Maybe Carel can expand on that a bit later. But yes, we've been engaging with the department on different things, as well as with the IEC and the SABS. Carel is quite narrowly involved, and he keeps us abreast of all of the changes, which also allows us to keep the tests and the P4 accreditations up to date, making sure that we cover all of the possible changes in regulation and everything that affects the knowledge base that practitioners need to have when they work on solar systems. So just to give you an idea of what is happening inside of AREP, our member base has grown significantly over the past 12 months. So just in the last year, we've grown by 30% from 3,600 members to 4,700 members. So that's been very positive. We're very glad that people are joining the association and actively partaking in the different things that we are doing. So thank you for all of you who are involved members, who are attending the AGM, who contact us, who ask questions. We love it. We love it when you engage with us. It's great. It's never a problem to help you with any questions that you might have. So please remember that. Feel free to contact us at any time. Then I wanted to give you an overview of the different founding members and company members that AREP has. So as you know, we have 3 different membership types. You can be a free member, which is the vast majority of our members are just free members. But if you want to support the association, and if you want the almost the accolade that comes with that financially, you can become either a company member or a founding member. A company member is the smaller subscription. It gives you a logo on our website, and it gives you permission to share all of our branding on your materials, and it gives you obviously a company membership certificate as an added accreditation for your business. And then our larger subscription is the founding membership. So the numbers have also increased a little bit. In 2023, we only had 18 founding members. Now we have 20, which we are very thankful for. And then company members in 2023, we had 100. At the end of 2024, we now stand at 135. So we're very glad for all of the companies that have chosen to partner with AREP in this way. And obviously they get their exposure on our website, and we also regularly post about these guys, involve them in social media when we do function on social media and when we do post things. Then I wanted to show you, for some reason, my graph. There we go. That was a bit strange. We one of the main things that AREP provide is the solar PV accreditation. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. For the solar PV accreditation, you take online tests for the first 2 levels, and the 3rd level is a practical assessment or evaluation of an installation that you did as a practitioner. So in 2023, you'll see that we did 1,394 tests. So that's between the level 1 and the level 2 combined. So over 1,300 people or tests were taken in 2023. And in 2024, we had 614 tests taken. So that kind of gives you an indication of what a anomaly of a year 2023 was. It was a uitskieter, as they would say in Afrikaans. And 2024 would seem to have stabilized a little bit more. And we didn't see so many new faces taking tests, but we did see a lot of people renewing their tests or going up to level 2. Yeah, so that's the numbers for the P4 tests. And then in the middle of last year, we started creating this program called the P4 Level 3, which is now the practical assessment. So it's a very new program, and we have 4 accredited P4 Level 3 candidates that has already passed the accreditation. So what that involves is if you have passed your level 2, you can apply for level 3, and then we send out someone to come and look at an installation that you have done and to go through the hybrid test report, which I hope you are all familiar with as well. It's a test report that you can use to check your solar system. We do the hybrid test report with you while we are on site, and then we see if you have passed the hybrid test report at 100%. If your installation is completely up to standard, then you get your accreditation. If you're interested in that, by the way, you can contact me. All right, then here is just a brief overview of some of the data reporting and the information we have published over the past 12 months. So the 2 big reports that we did was the Solar PV Risk Insights report. So we did quite a big survey to talk to practitioners directly about the risks and the hazards that they come across practically in the field. And we compiled all of that information into a very insightful report that we published in last year. And then secondly, we did the South African Solar PV Industry Report, which is also based on surveys. It was based on 5 different surveys and information gathering sessions that we had throughout the year. And it gives you lots of interesting statistics about how the market is moving, what's happening, just the spread between residential and commercial industrial, and where practitioners are located, what they're doing. It's very interesting. That is still in its draft form. We've published it to our distributor Steercom and some other key members for some insights from their side, but we are almost ready to publish it to the general public. It's very nearly finished. I think you're all going to enjoy the statistics a lot, just to see what is happening in your industry. Then in terms of articles and talks, I'm sure many of you attended many of these. We published articles on how to optimize your solar PV panels and inverters. We did a very interesting article on north and south facing rooftop solar panels. Both of those were written and researched by Wietse, which he was a consultant for us, and he wrote these very insightful articles. All of these are available on our LinkedIn page if you're interested. And then the talks throughout last year, we focused on different topics. Every month we did a different talk during our members meeting. We did the members meeting, we asked questions, we covered all of the relevant information, and then at the end of the meeting, we would do about a 20-minute talk on a specific topic, followed by a robust Q&A. And the topics that we covered includes, amongst others, lightning and surge protection. We talked about recycling, EPR fees and PROs. We covered fire prevention for lithium-ion storage systems. We covered financing, HR for solar PV businesses. So as you can see, we try to cover lots of things that might be applicable to you as an individual in the solar industry during these talks. If you ever have a suggestion on what you would like us to discuss, please feel free to let me know. That's just a brief overview of everything that we did this past year. And now it is time for me to hand over to Carel to take us into the next section. Thank you.
Thanks, Maretia. Morning, everybody. We've had a whole host of guys log in while Maretia was presenting. So at the moment, it looks like we're sitting at 186, which makes this a fairly well-attended meeting. Thank you very much for everybody joining us. My part of the meeting covers the financial report. So despite the year 2024 being fairly challenging as far as installations are concerned, AREP saw an increase in revenue over 2023. So we've had consistent growth in the association ever since we started charging for tests and with the growth of the industry combined. If you look at the surplus and the deficit, the profit the association has been making, there's not a lot of money to be throwing around. Last year was a challenging year, and we had to implement quite a few things which did have a cost to the association. The function of a non-profit is to plow a large portion of the income or profit back into the industry, and that is definitely what AREP is doing. We are definitely trying to implement the funds to the betterment of the sector. Maretia, if we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, where are we going? We've done a couple of presentations in neighboring countries where the AREP P4 has been met with a lot of excitement. Namibia was the last country that we visited, and we actually saw quite a few engineers interested in getting registered and tested. We have had, during the year 2024, last year, we have had quite a few guys writing tests throughout Africa. So I don't think the tests are at the point where the countries are happy to, implement it as a quality assurance mechanism, but it is nice for us to see that there are engineers and installers in other countries that are interested in trying out a quality assurance platform. Then, so we'll continue engaging with professionals and installers in other countries to try and see whether we can expand into those countries. Effectively, AREP would have to set up an office in each one of the countries, but there's no point in setting up an office if there's no interest. So we'll definitely start exploring expanding into other markets. Then next on the line is a conference. We are planning a conference this year. The conference has a couple of interesting topics which we'll share with you guys in some of the coming newsletters. We are just finalizing the venue, finalizing the budget, and finalizing the costs. I think all the hot topics will be discussed at the conference. We'll have space for distributors we'll have exhibition space at the conference as well. At the moment, we're looking at between 10 and 15 exhibition spaces. It'll be a one-day conference, and it will attract a host of speakers that will cover all the hot topics at the moment. So everything from, I'm guessing, the single-phase tester Maretia mentioned earlier on, through to surge protection, wiring, the neutral earth bond, all of the interesting and fascinating topics that keep the social media platforms buzzing. Then what do we have next? Collaboration. Guys, there is a mentorship program. Last year, we had a mentorship program as well, and it was quite successful. These are for energy performance certificates. So our collaboration is with an industry body called IPA, and IPA has a number of students that they have on a stipend program. So the students are being paid through a government program for their labor or the time they spend in your company. And the function of them joining your company is so that they can gain experience in the industry. This is an amazing platform to be part of, especially if you can use those students or those interns to provide an additional service that your company currently doesn't have. We all know that the energy performance certificates are mandated from this year. So buildings larger than, was it 2,000 square meters are mandated and forced to have energy performance certificates. So it's good to have an intern that is paid for by government to assist your company in moving over and providing an additional product or service. Then we've got a skills development agreement with Circular Energy. Circular Energy is one of the PROs, and a PRO is involved in the recycling of goods that are imported. So we've got a skills development agreement there. Then if we move through to standards, I'm involved with the IEC on the solar standard, and I'm still involved with the SABS on the solar standard that they now refer to as Annex X. In the last meeting that we had was about a week and a half ago. The working group was working through the last sections of the document that was, well, all of the changes. Guys, I'm talking at a very high level because this is supposed to be an AGM where we give highlights and information on what the activities are, and not necessarily or very specifically what was being discussed. So I would urge you guys to maybe attend the next members meeting, or if there are lots of inquiries, we can schedule another meeting, like an interim members meeting, to discuss some more detail around the standards, around our engagement with industry bodies, the mentorship programs, the single phase tester, and all of the other things that goes hand in hand with that. So I'm trying to, if it sounds like I'm trying to be evasive, I absolutely am. I'm just trying to give you guys the high level discussions of what we're busy with and where we're heading. So I'm involved with the IEC and SABS working groups, policy and regulations. We had a meeting with the Department of Labour because there was another industry body that circulated the incorrect information on whether single phase testers are allowed to sign off or not. The engagement with the Department of Labour ended up in a meeting with the Chief Inspector, Ms. Millie Reiters, Mr. Jacob Malatsi, and Peter Loubser from the Department of Labour. The bottom line was that, according to them, single phase testers are allowed to sign off. And for now, I'm going to leave that there. They committed to providing a written document, which they obviously haven't provided as yet. So until that's been provided, well, you guys are welcome to contact them directly. If you are interested in contacting them directly, speaking to them and asking them personally whether whether single phase testers are allowed to sign off, you're welcome to contact me. You're welcome to contact me, and I'll gladly give you all the contact details of Peter Loubser, Mr. Malatsi, and Mrs. Reiters, and you guys are welcome to contact them directly. I don't necessarily want to have a debate in this meeting on what the standards say and what the regulation says. If the regulation says one thing, a standard cannot override the regulation. So if the regulation says something and the Department of Labor interprets it in a specific way, it doesn't matter how many standards we refer to, which paragraphs, which sections we look at, that is null and void, because a standard cannot dictate a regulation. Moving on to quality assurance, there is a new AIA on the block, Cape Electrical Accredited Inspection Body. It is an approved inspection authority for the Department of Labor. Up until last year in December, we only had one AIA in the industry. Cape Electrical Accredited Inspection Body is another AIA, and you guys are welcome to use them. We are probably, when I say we, AREP, is probably going to build a closer working relationship with Mark Palmer, who is the AIA that is appointed under Cape Electrical Accredited Inspection Body. It's a totally weird name. They will be operating out of Gauteng as well as the Western Cape. Maretia, I think that covers the future. What else? Office bearers. At the moment, we have a chairman and a vice chair. The chairman is Jock, and the vice chairman is Trevor Tapan. They are both involved in the sector. Jock is from Broadreach. They do financing, and Trevor is, I think Trevor is master installation electrician. Trevor does a lot of work. He's based in the West Rand area, and they've both been involved with AREP, I think, for a period of about 2 years. At some stage, we are going to have to see if there is interest from the existing member base in order to investigate and appoint a new chairman and a new vice chairman. So Maretia might be sending a newsletter where guys who are interested in nominating themselves or someone else for the role would be able to follow the link and do so. At the moment, both Trevor and Jock is happy to stay on, but at some point we have to circulate to give other guys in the sector an opportunity to act as chair and vice chairman of the organization. It doesn't take up a lot of time. It's going to be better to speak to Jock and Trevor to find out what the responsibilities are. The idea behind chair is to try and use the guys in the office, that would be myself, Maretia, and Anne, as well as Jocelyn, to try and get all the work done, so that the chair and the vice chair simply provides an overseeing role. So it doesn't necessarily mean, if you are chairman and vice chair, that you sit in the one meeting after the next trying to solve industry issues. You will be you will purely have an oversight over what is being done by the office bearers. So it's don't take my word for it. It would be better to ask Jock and Trevor on the amount of time allocated and how much how intense the positions are. Maretia, what's next? I think that covers my sections. What's the next slide? Confirmation of auditor. We had a treasurer last year, and the treasurer was with AREP since the inception of AREP. Natara John Monayero, or MK as we knew him. He worked for an organization called Renewsys, and Renewsys is a module manufacturer in India. MK has been treasurer since the inception, and MK has invested an amount of time in the organization from a treasury point of view. MK has left us, or has left AREP as treasurer, and the guys who were appointed as the chartered accountants of AREP has indicated that they also provide treasury services for industry bodies, and therefore the same guys that do the audited financials for AREP will be acting as the treasurers for the association. Maretia, next one. Thank you. Okay, guys, do we have any questions from the audience on industry-related matters before I jump across into the questions regarding the Eskom registration process? I can check the Q&A box quickly. Maretia, do you know whether there are any issues?
I don't see any questions coming in through yet, but we can give it a minute or two just to see if someone's typing.
I see Vitsa asked that we change the title of the article. Vitsa, that's fine. Who is on the screen? Someone is sharing the screen. Who is that? Let's just see. I'm going to... Patrick, your microphone...
maybe address Carel.
Patrick, your microphone is on. Is that intentional, or was that a figure fault?
No, Carel, yeah, just a suggestion. I was thinking maybe if you can do the Eskom registration and then do the questions and answers, because there might be now also questions coming from the presentation on the Eskom registration.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, Patrick, so what the reason I'm trying to kind of split the two is because the AGM is a formal the annual general meeting for the association is a formal meeting that has to take place. It's something we have to do, in that we have to have certain things that we show, like the financials. We've got to talk about what's happened in the past, where we're going into the future. So I'd like to get that sorted. If there aren't any questions, then we are kind of ending the AGM without ending the meeting, but then we can just step into a different topic, or slightly not a different meeting, same meeting, just different agenda.
I think we probably need a motion on the auditors, Carel. Someone to motion that we're sticking with our auditors, and that to be seconded, just to formalize that last point.
Thanks,
Yes,
Jock.
that needs to be done.
Okay, guys, do we have anybody seconding Leroux Korf? I know if you need time and you'd like to go investigate and make sure that they are in fact legit, you guys are welcome to do it. Is it something that we... Let me just check the meetings. Questions
I think what we probably should do, and I've only thought of this now, so sorry for springing it on you, is that we should show that they are registered accountants and fully paid up.
I think so. So yeah, that's a good point. So maybe what we should do is, that would be something that we could circulate in a newsletter. I didn't even think about that.
It didn't occur to me either until I decided to just suggest a motion. Yeah.
Yeah. Ralph, thank you very much. That is seconded, but I think what we need to do is take Jock's suggestion in any case and just make sure that we get the documentation from the guys at Leroux von Korf, and then we can circulate and just inform the members.
So why don't we do the following, Carel? We put the motion forward to the AGM that they're accepted as the auditors on the basis that we confirm they are registered, paid up accountants. And
Okay.
I'm happy to make that motion, and then, you know, in our next newsletter, we just circulate that we've checked that. And yeah, if someone can obviously second my motion, then we don't need any other formalities, I don't think.
Okay, that's fine. I think so. Ralph did mention that he would second it. I don't know if he needs to second your motion. All of these formalities. Thank you, Wiggett.
We're sorted.
And Ralph is in the fall. Thanks, guys. Okay, so we'll circulate it in the newsletter coming up.
Perfect. Thank you.
So for clarity, Carel, we are accepting the continuation of the Leroux Korf Incorporated as our auditors, and they have not been our auditors for more than 3 years. And you will be circulating their accreditation in the newsletter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, the 3 years is an important issue.
It will be, yeah, it will be, I think it will be more in the sense of a kind of a notification, letting everybody know, and just a confirmation that these are the guys. And then if there are any objections, they're welcome to post them, and we'll inspect them or make work of it depending on what comes back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys, I am going to conclude this meeting. I'm not sure whether that is something that Jock is supposed to do. Jock, is that your job to conclude the AGM so we can get through to the Eskom registration?
Sure, I can conclude the official AGM, and thank you all for attending. I would like to just extend my gratitude on behalf of everyone here to Anne, Maretia, and Carel, because I think they do a wonderful job. The growth that they've managed to achieve in the organization is testament to how well respected the work they do is, and I just want to thank them all for their efforts in the last year. I think you're doing a great job, so on behalf of everyone, thank you.
Thank you very much, Jock.
Over to the other issues, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Was 'n bietjie vinnig uit die blokke uit. Okay, guys. Let's start up with the Eskom registration. So let's just start at the beginning. The Eskom published a document where there was a spokesperson of Eskom who indicated that the installations, if they are not registered with Eskom, are illegal. In order for an installation to be illegal, you have to be in contravention of some kind of law. All the municipalities that resell electricity get the authority and permission to resell electricity from NERSA. There are 177 municipalities that are allowed to resell electricity. They make their tariffs and their feed-in tariffs. They present those tariffs to NERSA, and NERSA approves the tariffs So NERSA approves Eskom's tariffs, and NERSA approves the 177 other municipality tariffs that resell electricity. So the key focus here is NERSA. So NERSA told the municipalities and Eskom to keep a record of all the installations that have been done in their respective areas. Now, if your customer gets their municipal bill from Eskom, then that customer has an Eskom account. If the street across the road, the customer gets their bill from the municipality, let's call it Ekurhuleni, then that customer doesn't have an Eskom account, that customer has an Ekurhuleni account. So it is unrealistic to think that a customer who has an Ekurhuleni account needs to register with Eskom. The spokesperson at Eskom had their first interview, made it sound like everybody needed to register with Eskom. That is not the case. You don't have an Eskom account, you don't register with Eskom, you register with your municipality. The issue that we have is out of the 177 municipal areas, each municipality has their bylaw. Not only do they have their own bylaw, they have their tariff structure, and they have their own process for registering solar. So out of the 177, there are probably only about 30 of them that have the administrative ability to capture registrations. Those, Joshua, I'm just putting you on mute. Those guys that, those municipalities that have procedures and registration processes in place, you are supposed to register your system in a municipality. That's not because of government taxes. It probably is, but it's not because we are going to be taxed to death, or they need to kind of know who you are. They need to understand how much power is being generated by solar power, because it has an impact on the national energy grid, and it has an impact on what they have to provide for in terms of the energy mix. The energy mix makes provision for all of our generation plants, whether it being nuclear, whether it being coal, whether it being open cycle gas turbines, whatever is being used to generate power has to form part of some kind of plan. And yes, they don't call it a tax. It might be a service fee, or it might be something else. But when you register, you end up paying a monthly subscription for your solar system, or for the meter, or for something else, because the municipality that you are registering the system with is losing money. Now, what do you need in order to register with Eskom? Guys, each municipality has their own rules and guidelines. In City Power, they used to have it that up to 30 kilowatts, any electrician can register. In City of Cape Town, you've got to have an engineer sign off. You've got to be registered as an electrician in the City of Cape Town, and you've got to have a COC for the installation. Different rules apply. The limitation on system size, the rate at which you charge a battery, and how big your solar system is, and what you are allowed to feed back is being governed by an NRS 097 document. The NRS 097 document is a guideline. It's not a regulation. It's not a standard. We know this because on the front page of the NRS 097, at the bottom, it says, this is not a standard. Okay, that's clear. So the NRS is a guideline that Eskom generates to keep the grid stable and to keep the grid safe. If your municipality uses the guidelines in the NRS 097, it is because the area where you are is relatively stable, so they apply what is in the guideline. If you're right at the end of the line, their guidelines are going to be more stringent. So typically you're allowed to feed back 75% of the transformer capacity if you are connected to a transformer. In other words, if you're a dedicated user to that transformer. In Robertson, for example, if you're right towards the end of the line, the power quality there is terrible. So instead of 75%, they are restricting users in that area to 40% of the transformer capacity. So that is something that is defined by the municipal area or the utility where you are based. And that kind of brings me to the end of the story. There's one more thing. Who's responsible for registering the solar system? So if it is, let's two aspects. One is building regulations, other one is electrical installation regulations. If you look at electrical installation regulations, the EIR makes the homeowner or the user or the lessor, in other words, the guy that is busy using the power, makes that guy responsible for the safety of the installation. So it's got responsibility to make sure he has a COC. If you go and look at the building regulations and how we do things in South Africa, I want to add a room onto my building. I don't have time or patience for the municipality to approve my building. What do? I phone the builder. I instruct the builder to come and add a room to my building. The fact that the builder has built it without approved plans is my responsibility and something that I did that was not correct. So when we look at the building side of things, I think a homeowner is allowed to give a solar contractor permission to do an installation without it being registered with the municipality. So my opinion is that installers are supposed to advise customers on what they should be doing, but at the end of the day, it's the customer's responsibility to ensure that they get the registration done. Customers are not technically minded, so they are probably not going to be able to do the registration because they have no idea how the registration process works. This is where it starts getting gray, because it should be the solar contractor that manages the process. Whether your insurance, so depending on whether the registration is approved or not, could have an impact on your insurance. So there is quite a lot of responsibility on the solar contractor for bringing this under the attention of the homeowner or the solar system owner. But guys, that is something that you have to sort out with your customer. It's something that you need to bring to their attention. Try and make sure if you bring it to their attention that you have it in email, so there is a track record of the conversation, where you say, listen guys, you have to have the system registered, and then in a year's time, if they say you never informed them, then at least you'd be able to flash the email. Okay, I'm going to go through to the questions quickly. I'm going to start with the questions in the chat box. Jock says, I have a question. We have had a system we funded where the insurance claim was declined on the basis of poor workmanship. The site had a COC and PRN sign-off. Is this something anyone else has experienced, and is it allowed? So before I read the comments to your question, Jock, the insurance company I think it depends on who the insurance company used to do an assessment. As a solar industry, we do not support other installers. As a solar industry, we do not support other installers. If I go and have a look at someone else's installation, the first thing I pick up are the mistakes. I never go, wow, your site looks amazing. You know, you could have just put a label over there. No, we immediately go to, you don't have the right fuses, you don't have the right isolators, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So the chances are that even though there is a COC and a PRN sign-off for the installation, the guy who assessed the system for the insurance company, the guy who did the assessment for the insurance company probably had a different view or a different interpretation to the standards. In his report, he would have mentioned something to the effect that could have sounded like the installation wasn't done correctly. So my opinion is, in many instances, the installation would be correct, but you would have someone doing an inspection and declining it. Now, the guys who do inspections for insurance companies, they get commission on claims they decline. So it's possible that there wasn't anything wrong with the inspection or with the system, and you should have asked for a different assessor or a second assessor to visit the site.
I just couldn't understand what value the COC provides if it doesn't prove that you're compliant in terms of insurance.
So Jock, it's possible. So the COC, if you look at it, the COC, and I'm going to water it down, but the COC says that if you shock yourself, the earth leakage has to trip. So the COC covers safety of the installation. The COC covers things like, is there continuity between the panel of the frame and the earth bar and the DB board? Let me just see, we've got, I'm just mute to me.
Carel, you're welcome to
Yes.
make me co-host again, then I can do the muting and the...
I would have loved to,
entrances.
Maretia, if I had a clue where to do it. I've tried to have a look. Oh, wait, maybe.
Click on my name, there's a blue more.
There you go. Okay. So Jock, you would have a COC, and the COC would show that the installation was safe. You'd have an engineer sign off, and the engineer sign off would say that the guy should have used this size cable in that part of the installation and this size in that part, and the cable should be this long and this KA. So that's what the engineer does. But my guess would be that the guy who did the inspection was out to find faults. And I must be honest, I don't think if you are critical, you will find an installation without any faults. Everybody is going to find something on some installation if you really try hard enough. Or if you really look closely and you are critical, you'll find a fault in any installation. And I'm probably going to have someone who says my installation is faultless in the chat line. But yeah, it is. It's only faultless until the next inspection. But anyway,
Okay,
Jock, so
I
think, yeah.
I have my answer. Thank you, Carel.
I would get the insurance company to send someone else, or to be more specific about why it was declined, and then get a so it would be interesting to see why it was declined, because they need to give you an answer on what it was that made the system non-compliant.
They've been very cagey about releasing the assessors report. So
No, that'd be amazing. Then we can find the phrase in the standard to see whether the guy actually has his references correct.
If they don't change it,
Okay.
I'll circulate the name. I'll circulate the name of the insurance company to everyone, so they please stay away from them going forward if they don't change their mind.
Jock, can you confirm whether Carel is frozen on your side as well, or just by me?
Yeah, I actually thought it was me that had frozen.
Yeah, we've lost
Okay,
Carel.
cool. Okay, we've lost Carel.
I'm back,
Cool.
guys. So,
Oh, there we go.
I don't know where I disappeared to, but I left the meeting momentarily. Let me just cover the questions quickly. Geez, we have a lot of questions. Okay, where are we now? Let's see.
Maybe,
Yeah.
can you maybe just confirm again? Cornel de Toy asked, is it legal requirement to register with Eskom? Could you just reconfirm the legal aspect? I see there's a couple of questions about that, so that we can just make that clear again.
Is it a legal requirement? Well, it was mandated by NERSA. So it's mandated by NERSA, which is the regulator for South Africa. So is it legal? I'll find the document. Let me go and see if I can find the document where they give the instruction, because it would be somewhere on NERSA's website to gather that information, and then you'll be able to see where it was done as a paper, whether it was government gazetted. It would see whether it is a legal requirement.
Carel, could I suggest that you maybe just turn off your camera because you keep freezing and then we can't hear what you're saying?
Let me see if I can. Can I try a different network? My other network is not better. Is the sound better though?
The sound is a bit better, yes. While Carel is just fixing his internet, I just want to mention that it is 12 o'clock. If you do need to go, we completely understand it. The AGM portion of the meeting has been concluded. We are now simply in the Q&A section where we are asking questions and getting some advice from the technical experts in the room. This entire meeting will be recorded and posted on YouTube, so you won't miss anything. Yeah, so we can continue. I just wanted to mention that you are welcome to leave if you have if you're otherwise engaged. All right, I see that Carel is momentarily off again. I'm going to see if Trevor, if there's some technical questions, will you be able to assist in answering them? Trevor is still here.
Okay, can we try again?
Ah, there we go. Welcome back, Carel.
Thanks. So this is connected now. It's connected to my phone. I don't know if I get a call. Obviously, I'm going to be disconnected again. I'm going to try and work through the chats quickly. Let's just see where we were the last one. The Eskom SSEG. So Sarel Pieterse, that was 12:45. Sarel Pieter says the process is very convoluted, and we can't get a clear process from Eskom SSEG agent you are in contact with. Guys, can we set up a meeting with Eskom's grid division, and then you can speak to the guys? I think that would be a good idea, is to set up a meeting with Eskom's grid division, and the members who have questions can join the meeting and ask Eskom directly. That'd be good. Maretia, if we can just make a note of that, I'll contact Andre from Eskom and see if we can set up a meeting. Cornel.
Perfect, noted.
Is it legal? You are supposed to, yeah, so that's the next one. What law states who needs to register? That's fine. Cornel, we'll try and see if we can find that document. It would be a document that would have been published by NERSA. If registered, Vita says, if registered with the distributor, does the customer only pay a fee if they remain connected to the distributor's grid, or also when they disconnect from the distribution grid? Vita, I don't think there's a straight answer for that question. In some cases, the municipality will disconnect you, but they will leave the service on the earth. So you end up paying the service fee in any case. That depends on where you are based and which municipality you have to answer to. Olayinka says, what about the household entity is off-grid, does it still apply? So Olayinka, the only answer I can give there is City of Cape Town, because I know what they said to a similar question, and they said whether you are grid tied or off-grid, you have to register with them. Each municipality will be different, so I'm going to leave that there until we have our meeting with Eskom. Leon Person says the cost of Eskom is between 25 and 50,000 Rand. Yeah, William, I'm not 100% sure whether it's correct to say that Eskom has no legal power to oblige you to register. It would be interesting though, because I was thinking about this yesterday, is municipalities have bylaws, but what does Eskom have? What does Eskom have that can force you to
Eskom doesn't have any bylaws.
They don't have bylaws, but they can force you. And then Sarel responded to, he said,
only in certain circumstances.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, you need to understand the whole reason for this thing is because Eskom is in the process of dividing itself up into three separate entities: generation, transmission, and distribution. So each of those needs to have an income stream in order to be able to exist. Secondly, the whole issue about solar in particular, is that if you are using Eskom as your backup battery, then they are entitled to charge you for something, and in order to achieve that, they are in the process of changing their tariff structure so that whereas at the moment about 70% of your fee, your monthly invoice is energy based, it will in future be about 70% be network based, and the energy itself will be a relatively small proportion of it. So in other words, you're going to be paying a lot of money for the privilege of being connected to the network. So the simple solution to that is to disconnect from the network. And I confirmed that with the chairman of NEXA this morning, not NERSA, NEXA, the nuclear energy thing, but he's got lots and lots of experience in the area. And he said, if you're disconnected, Eskom can whistle. That's not the same saying but if you're in Cape Town, for example, and you're connected to the Cape Town municipality, then you may fall under Cape Town directory. But I'm, for example, connected to Eskom, and I'm simply disconnecting from Eskom. I'm done.
Okay. Thanks, William. I have to move on with the comments in the chat box, please. Kevin Pine says, please then explain the status of the checkbox in the SSEG test report that is now provided as a requirement for SSEGs. supplier bylaws, where the tick box says, are supplier bylaws complied with? Guys, I think it's very difficult. Do you know what the bylaws of your supplier, what the bylaws are? So how do you tick the tick box to say that you comply with the supplier bylaws? I would just put a not applicable next to it. Not applicable is probably not there, but is probably not an option. But the working group that has generated that box, there's a lot of disparate views in the working group on what should be in there and what shouldn't be in there. And maybe I should just leave it there. We tend to read a lot of things into these documents that sometimes should not even be there. So Kevin, I don't really have an answer for you. Maybe just write not applicable and move on. What happens with an off-grid system? Donald says, what happens with an off-grid system in regards to this registration? Donald, you have to check with your local municipalities. Some municipalities sees an off-grid system as a grid-tied system, or it has to be registered even if it is off-grid. However, okay, so maybe there's a distinction here. If you are on a property that doesn't have any connection at all and never has, that is different to being on a property where you choose not to use the connection. But for that, you have to look at what the municipality says. So, Donald, I don't have a straight answer for you. Have a look at the municipal requirements. Then Wiggett says the last person to work on the system takes ownership from there on. Yes. And the last person to work on the system is supposed to issue a COC for that installation and for the work they've done. And then Johan says, is it necessary for off-grid installations to register? I think I've covered that. There were 2 replies. Parallel connection equals embedded. Kevin says the definitions are clear in practice. You are engaging with the person in front of you. Off-grid and a switched alternative with no parallel connection is not an SSEG. Yeah, Kevin, thank you very much. That's a good point. SSEG is short for small scale embedded generator. So if it's not connected, it's not embedded. And based on those parameters, you have to check with your municipality to see whether your system is being registered as an SSEG or whether it's being just registered as a system. That would be interesting to see. I haven't had a look at the City of Cape Town's document to see how they phrase that. Jock Brown said he needed to drop off. Thanks, Jock. Okay, please can we stick to the topic? Yeah, sorry, Linda. We are trying to stick to the topic. So Linda, just to answer your question, if we have the meeting with Andre from Eskom, Eskom is broken up into 7 grid divisions or grid division areas. Each grid division has a manager, and Andre, last time I've spoken to him, he is in charge of the managers for the different regions. So Andre would be the guy that we need to talk to. We'll set up a meeting with him, and you guys can ask him as well about non-replies or commission or confirmation on your submissions. Then one of our installations was approved and signed off about 6 months ago, but Eskom has not activated our credit for feedback. How long do they have to activate the credit after approval? So Marcel, in order for them to do that, they need to be able to process do the admin on feeding power back. Yeah, so I don't really have an answer for you. Maybe we can reserve that question for Andre as well. because if they've replaced the meter, technically the meter should be capable of going forwards and providing information on what was returned or fed back to the grid. Kevin then says the purpose of a detailed as-built document is to protect you from the changes made by others at a later stage. That's a good point. If a third party makes changes, they take on the whole installation and must issue a supplementary COC. Correct? Thanks, Kevin. Wiggett says, I have a site that I submitted 3 years ago to Eskom and the same story, not even an acknowledgement. Yeah, that's a good point. Guys, where you've done that, you're obviously off the hook because you can show that it has been submitted. Alexis says the root cause remains. Neither the standards nor the regulations clearly address the safety and/or design requirements or testing procedures, and until then it will always be open to interpretation of the person's training and/or experience. Is there any light at the end of a 10+ year saga regarding these requirements? Yes, of course, Alexis, there is. Whether it's going to be practical and applicable, that's another question. So the document is almost done and almost ready to be circulated for comment. So it would be interesting to see if the document does go out for comment, whether it gets to the point where it's actually published. The previous cycle where it was published, it was withdrawn again. Cello says, do we as installers provide the reverse metering? No, the meter belongs to Eskom, so Eskom will provide a meter. They are supposed to. Lisa says, it would be awesome to have someone from Eskom. Lisa, I know, we will arrange that. Kevin says the gap between the theory of registration, as in we need to do it, and any real analysis of the capacity or interest in the relevant parties to effect a turnaround time that is workable is vast and frankly unworkable. Kevin, I agree with what you are saying. It then further goes to say we are working with the municipality. If there are 5,000 SSEG and generators, and they process at 12 weeks per application. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So different municipalities have different capabilities, and most cannot deal with the influx of registrations. Lucas wants to know, can a P4 sign off on the design, or must it be registered PRNG? And what about the inspection before issuing a COC? Lucas, I've had mixed responses from different municipalities. I've had responses from municipalities where some guys with P4s are actually allowed to sign off the design. And you'd be able to do as many inspections as you'd like. And then just get someone who is registered to issue the COCs. So what I would recommend is keep a record of your installations and the ones that you've tested. And then you get the guy who issues your COC on the installation to sign your records so that you keep a portfolio of experience. You build a record of experience, and you can then later use that to qualify to do the formal qualification. William says one of the NRS 097 documents specifically state that it does not apply to systems that are physically disconnected. William, that's true. That's true because the NRS 097 covers embedded generation. So NRS 097 won't cover off-grid systems. But you do have municipalities that still require that even if you do an installation in a municipal area where there is a supply point, that you still have to register the system, even if it's off-grid. I don't know how they state it on the application. I'll have a look and provide feedback on that. So that should be interesting. And then Uzafa says, geez, guys, you really keep the messages going. Uzafa says on the SSEG application, the DGSL. So DGSL is short for Dead Grid Safety Lock. Oh my goodness. So dead grid safety lock is really just a combination of two contactors in series. And the one contactor keeps the other contactor alive. That is to make sure that if there is load shedding, that the system is definitely disconnected. Does it apply to what size of the installation? The NRS doesn't specify this. Yeah, so Uzafa, different municipalities, different utilities, different requirements. I don't have an answer for you there. The DGSL, I think, is specifically for Eskom installations, and you would probably find that it is not specific to a size. You have to fit it in all systems. But let's just have a look. We'll contact Andre and he'll answer that question for us. Sarah says this is what Eskom needs regarding SSEG. Oh, yes. Thanks, Sarah. So you've posted some application processes. Eskom application form. Thank you very much. Stefan says, quick question. On the Eskom application form, it asks for an account number. For residential customers that have prepaid, how or where would one get this? I would assume the prepaid meter number. But anyway, Stefan will ask Andre when we have our meeting. Regan says, I had a discussion with an engineer and his issue is the PRNG is responsible for the entire installation, not only the solar settings, looking at fault currents, breaker size, surge, earthing, lighting, volt drop. Why should he take responsibility for the entire installation? And if he is not happy, he will ask for the system to be removed and reinstalled as per regulations. It's time to get yourself a different engineer, Regan. Look, guys, electricians have responsibilities. And if they issue a COC, they take the responsibility. An engineer has the responsibility to size the cable correct, size the KA on the circuit breakers, understand what the fault levels are, and make sure that the system has been designed accordingly. The engineer has a right to do an inspection on the installation and make sure that the inspection complies to their requirements. The engineer is not responsible for making the system safe. So if there is a lightning strike and an inverter blows, it's not the engineer's fault that the lightning strike is stronger than what was anticipated. There are certain limitations and certain scopes. But Regan, if your engineer is not comfortable with the risks, then find someone else. If the client decides to not register their system, will they be penalized? City of Cape Town penalized their users for not registering, and they scared them or threatened them with a 6,000 Rand a month fine. Whether they can implement it or not, that is a completely different matter, and whether they have the legal power to do so. But our municipality's work is that if you don't pay your account, you get disconnected, and then you end up with a recurring bill for what you are owed, and then it's your responsibility to address it in a legal matter. So yes, it's difficult. Sarah Peter says, could I have a moment to explain what Eskom requires for SSEG and feeding back? Sarah, if you are still in the meeting, I am almost through all the questions in the chat box. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting. Rocco says he has to leave. Ruan says having to register an off-grid system and pay a tariff is extortion. Yes, it is. It's not my prerogative, not my rules. I'm just managing the meeting. Does Eskom require a fireman switch when you have solar panels on the roof? Not Eskom, Stellenbosch, yes. Eskom requires a switch at the main gate so that they can switch off the system from the road. I don't see that happening, guys. It's what they require. I don't see that happening, not with how things are going in South Africa, not with the safety and yeah, not with the safety of you'll have equipment being stolen off your gate, and then you'll just continuously be replacing switches. So I don't see that happening. Sarel, are you still in the meeting?
Yes, Carel, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for your patience. Yes.
Yes, Carel, if I can just quickly say, so this is only regarding Eskom. So we've got a client, he's had a billing issue, metering issue. He got somebody from Eskom out to come and check the meter.
Camera, please, Sarel.
Yes?
Camera, please.
Oh, sorry, just one sec. Let's see if I can get this going. Sorry, guys, it doesn't look like I can get my camera going, if that's fine. That fine for everybody? Can I continue?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. So basically, Eskom has now visited his home. So it's a residential premises. Eskom has said to him he has to register. So they're forcing him to register and provide a SSEG application. Now, the big challenge is that they want to replace his meter, but they're now also forcing him to go onto a time of use, home flex. Apart from home flex, they do require the DGSL or contactor or isolator by the gate. I've directly contacted the SSEG agent here in Cape Town that my client is dealing with. We are ready to send all the documents. We've completed all the documents, engineers sign off, COC, everything. They can't even receive the documents at this point because the meter hasn't been replaced yet and the client hasn't been moved over to time of use. And we have requested the information. Do we need to do the DGSL by the gate on the front wall? He's got a Worcestershire box where the earth neutral bonding obviously before his main breaker in his DB board, which is the most logical place to put a contactor or isolator DGSL. And they can't give us a clear answer on that. So whenever we can get that meeting with Eskom and just get clarity on that, at this point we can't move ahead, and we're waiting to hear what exactly is required by Eskom, because they aren't even sure. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sarel. I think that's added a lot of information. So the switch outside by the gate is good, but all of the items that you've mentioned ended with they can't give you a straight answer. So there's no real answer to this apart from that it might be a good idea to get your paperwork ready, get your engineer sign off on the design, make sure that your system has a COC, submit your paperwork, whether you get a response or not. Just submit the paperwork, and then the municipality has the paperwork, and you're kind of off the hook. Where you have to do it, inform the customer, CC the customer into the email and into the conversation. That would be my suggestion or my recommendation. Marcel, yeah, so Sarel, thank you very much. Do you have anything further to add?
No, Carl, that's fine. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for your input. Marcel says, can you give me some insight on the fireman switch properties with flammable substances? Marcel, I can't really. You would be able to get a fireman switch for explosive environments. That would obviously be 6 times more expensive than the normal one. Those requirements would be client requirements. So you would have to, if you do the installation at Total or Shell or whichever filling station, that would be a requirement from the engineering firm that appoints you. So far, I've seen most of the installations at fire stations have consultants, And that would be something that would be defined by the consultant. I don't think all of the systems would have fireman switches on them. Depends where you are and what the requirements are. Okay, guys, I've gone through. Is the switch supposed to off the panels? Yeah, so Cello, again, it can't switch off the panels because you don't really have module level switching capability. Even if you switch the panel off, it will still continue producing power, because that's just, as long as the sun shines, there'll be power. Unless you use something like microinverters or optimizers. Microinverters would have the ability to switch off at module level, and so would optimizers. But that's kind of where your limit ends. If you have a normal DC environment like you have with Daya or SunSync or Victron inverters, you won't be able to switch that off. Have all hospitals and banks with large UPSs, do all hospitals and banks with large UPSs have a dead grid safety lock? Donnie, no, they don't. Unfortunately, UPSs are seen slightly different. UPS is a different type of device. And you can't really compare an inverter, even though it has a similar function. You can't say that an inverter is an UPS, because they work slightly differently. Regan, thank you very much. Sorry, the meeting has extended a bit. Cornel says surely an NRS 097 approved already incorporates DGSL. Cornel, it does, but in the form of relays. So the dead grid safety lock is an initiative that was created by Eskom, and it started about 2012, if I remember correctly. And the guy who was driving it, driving the dead grid safety lock at the time, the NRS 097 wasn't even didn't feature. So we are now stuck with a legacy. We are now stuck with a legacy, what do we call it, item or legacy requirement that isn't that functional, in my opinion. So why is another one needed? Possibly because the individual who started the dead grid safety lock discussion isn't at Eskom anymore, and maybe he's retired. But now whoever took over thought it was a good idea, and now DGSL is featured on their documentation. That's how these things work. Linda wants to know, does Eskom require UPS or backup system to be registered? Backup system, yes. UPS, no. It depends on how big the UPS is and where the UPS installation is. You are supposed to register generators that have changeover switches in them. You are supposed to register those generators with the municipality, but nobody ever does. So theoretically, very large UPSs should be registered, because it would have the ability to send power back into the network, but that never reached the part where it never really got implemented at the point where you had to register them. Theoretically, they should be, but they're not. Randall says a fireman switch cut off the strings before it comes to the inverter. True. That could be, I suppose. Yeah, but it doesn't really switch anything off. So it's not as if it disconnects the batteries, or it's supposed to. Some inverters have emergency switches that will switch the system off completely. and the fireman switch is supposed to be connected to the emergency function on the inverter. What is the gate switch supposed to control? The gate switch will leave properties vulnerable. Harold, absolutely. That's why I'm saying I'm not sure whether they would be able to successfully implement it. They would probably request it during the inspection. It'll be there, and after the inspection, the guys would remove it. When is the dead grid safety switch required? Guys, I'm Estian, I'm going to have to leave that for the Eskom discussion. Cello says, is there a minimum system for registering the SSEG? If it's SSEG, it has to be registered. They give the minimum system sizes. In fact, they give the maximum system sizes in the NRS 097. Smallest inverter that I know of. No, Alexis says he is retired and is an apple farmer now. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so there, my suspicions were correct. So he's handed over the documents to his predecessor, and yeah, whoever took over from him thought it was a good idea. Had no idea what they were implementing, but they are requesting it in any case because someone else started it. Guys, I have to conclude the meeting, and so does Jade. Thank you very much. Unless there are any final questions, I think I'm going to leave it there. There was something that I was... William has answered it, 350 watts. So if you put a 350 watt panel on a microinverter, you'd have to register that as a small scale embedded generator.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Carel. That's what I'm saying. You were asking the question of what's the smallest inverter I've seen, and I've seen inverters that are 350 watts or smaller.
Yes. So microinverter, if you were to take a microinverter and connect it onto a DB board with one panel, that would qualify as a small scale embedded generator.
Yep. Even if it's like 100 watts.
That you'd have to register that.
The reason is because of feeding power back into the network. So the power is not the power. The power is not the point. It's the voltage.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. I am bringing an end to the meeting. Marcel has asked a final question: are they allowed to enforce such requirements if it's not specified by Eskom? Guys, Marcel, I'm going to leave that for the discussion with Eskom, because that's kind of an Eskom discussion. If you don't mind, otherwise this meeting is just going to drag on. We're already 40 minutes past the time, and past the time that was allocated for the meeting. And I thank everybody for attending this meeting. Thanks to Jock for chairing it, and Maretia for providing the information, and Jocelyn for doing all the hard work. Guys, thank you very much. Thanks for attending. We'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Carel. My last question is, who are you meeting with at Eskom, and can I help you with setting it up?
William, the guy's name is Andre.
Andre who? There's lots of Andres at Eskom.
No, there's only one. I'm just joking. Let me see. I'm gonna have to dig around for his number. Can I?
Yeah, later's fine. I've got it. Well, tomorrow I'm going to the SIE council meeting, and there are lots and lots of Eskom people there, so I can ask for suitable people as well if you need assistance.
So you would You would have to find the number of the guy that's in charge of the grid divisions at Eskom.
Grid
So
division.
it's grid division manager. He is in charge of the seven. Is in charge of the 7 grid divisions. I've got his
Transmission to the transmission company.
Yeah, that's a trick question.
Okay, yeah, I know the chief engineer there, for example.
I will get you his number.
Okay.
Let me go
All right.
through my emails.
Yeah.
I will find his number and then I will let you know.
Okay. All right.
I'm going
Okay,
to try.
okay.
Oh, here it is. Oh no, it's not him. That's a different Andre. Okay. Guys, thank you very much.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot.
We're off. Goodbye.
Cheers, all.
Thanks.
A very informative meeting. Thank you. So, Carl and Cyril.
Thanks, William. I found his number.
And okay, do you want to send it to me on a WhatsApp or whatever?
Yeah, I'll send it to you on a WhatsApp. Thanks, guys.
Cool. All right then.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.